I'm an old, washed up powerlifter, take two. So that's right, I just said it. I'm an old, washed up powerlifter. And I think I need to get that out there. I think I've covered this topic in a few different videos and some posts, but it keeps coming up again, Chris. When you going for this record, when you competing again, those sorts of things. I've got a couple things that I'm passionate about right now. One of those, the biggest one, the driving factor of my career and my business and all that right now is I feel I've got a message to share in methodology and approach in the strength training world, and also the continuum of care or methodology between clinical practice and strength coaching. And that's, you read our content, listen to our podcast, look at the products that we produce. Everything is focused around that. I want to change the world in that fashion. And so that's my primary importance right now. Lifting and competing takes a secondary place to that. As far as competing, I'm not just an Instagram or YouTube lifter. Maybe I am right now. Actually, I consider myself an exhibition lifter at this point in time. But I started lifting when I was in junior high. I started competing at powerlifting when I was 23. I turned 40 here in a couple months. And I spent 16 years on the platform, like chasing numbers, doing my thing, setting records, being ranked #1 in the world for years on end. I've done my time, and I think I talked about that in the grand goals thing. Like, I got to a point that I just wasn't like fired up to train. I felt I was going in to train and even compete because I had to. People expected it. People on the other end of the camera expected me to do that, and that's why I was doing it. And that just was not the place I wanted to be. So I relooked at things and said, Chris, for a while, I just want to do things that get me fired up. And I created a big long list, the grand goals list. I haven't shared all of that yet, but there's a bunch of epic things on there. One of those was squatting 1,000 pounds. I did it for reps. I want to deadlift 1,000 pounds. I want to squat 1,000 pounds next. I've got some high repetition goals. I did one of those already, the 675 for 20. It was actually better than what was on my list. Benching 225 for 60 reps. I haven't hit my one arm goal yet, snatches, but there's a whole bunch of stuff on there. Front squats with no hands, getting close to that 700 marker. I hit 650 when I was training with Mike O'Hearn down at Venice Gold. But those are the things, it gets me fired up. And I don't care what anybody thinks or expects me to do. And at this point in time, I've spent that time on the platform. Not saying I won't be back, but that's not my goal right now. But especially as I'm turning to master, maybe I'd take some consideration of that. But, at the same time, I love training, and I feel that I need to demonstrate, that what we do works from a movement and training perspective. So I'm not past that training age, and powerlifting as a whole doesn't allow me to be able to demonstrate the full capability because I have to work around things. And I'm not one for excuses, because I spent 5-6 years and $10,000 to $20,000 on surgeries to be able to work around some of this stuff. I've got 5 holes in my right arm, 7 in my left, surgeries elsewhere, but these are ones that were elective to try to get me back in a position that the bar is not this damn far in front of me while I'm deadlifting, which puts a tremendous strain on the shoulder, the elbow. It affects my bench, it comes back and ends up hurting my squatting. All this stuff happens. And so I've spent a bunch of time. I spent 3 years trying to master the hook grip and work around the size of my hands and how that works with the bar to try to overcome it, so that puts me in the position like I'm training with straps. But those surgeries haven't got me where I need to be. This arm is straighter. I can almost go with this as the underhand. But at the same time, during the course of that, I've caused nerve damage. My left or right pinky I can barely feel. Grip strength on the left hand has come back to close to where it was prior to surgery. But those are the things, that's why that set of rules and circumstances is, not what if I'm just focused on primary goals, trying to change the world of strength training, trying to demonstrate, in what I can do and what I'm capable of, and also do stuff that gets me jazzed up and fired up, that's where I'm gonna be. It means I'm gonna be doing exhibition type stuff. This is why I'm training for the animal cage. I'm gonna be doing some other, some other competitive events that I'm going to be in over the next year as well that aren't necessarily powerlifting, but a lot of my stuff is powerlifting focused. That's been my focus of the type of training that I do and what I do. So I think, this gets across the point of like where I'm at, Yeah, I put in my time. Like I said, 16 years of chasing and being on the platform multiple times a year. I've done my time, and right now, these are the things I'm focused on. So that's a long way of saying I'm just an old, washed up, retired powerlifter. So hopefully that answers the questions as far as like when you compete next, you going for that record or this record or that. So no, I'm not. I'm doing what I want to do, and some people are going to like it, some aren't. But in the end of the day, it's what I want to do. What's get me going, what gets me fired up, what fits my goal, what fits my life. And that's the important thing to me.